This video is a quick introduction to the RTI OpenShift Cartridge. We'll start with an overview of RTI, and then we'll do a little demonstration of adding an RTI cartridge to an OpenShift application, connecting the RTI console, and using the console to analyze the application performance. We'll end with more information about RTI. When you use RTI in an OpenShift environment, there are two components. There's the RTI cartridge, which you install in an OpenShift gear to monitor the performance of your JBoss or Tomcat application. And then there's the RTI console, which you connect to the RTI cartridge in your gear to download performance information collected by RTI. I've logged on to my OpenShift account, and I'm going to create a demonstration application. I'm going to pick the JBoss application server here, just give it a new domain name, and then I'll go ahead and create the application. We'll use RTI to monitor the performance of this application. There's the summary page for my application. And now I'm ready to install the RTI cartridge so I can do performance monitoring on that application. I select Add Cartridge here and scroll through the list of available ones. I'm actually going to use a downloadable cartridge here. I've added the URL for the downloadable cartridge, and now I'll just click Next to go ahead and add that cartridge. First it'll ask me if I really want to add it, and I do. Okay, I've added the cartridge. I get a little summary of the process of adding it and an indication that I need to add a license here, which is what I'll do next. In order to download the license, I'll need to connect via SSH. So I'll return to the application summary page here, and I'll use this link to get more information on generating SSH keys. In fact, here's a command that I can copy to attach using SSH once I've created the keys. Okay, I've got a terminal window open. I'm going to copy the RTI license file up to the RTI cartridge in OpenShift.com. I use SCP here to copy the local cookie file up to my OpenShift account and actually into the RTI cartridge, which I've already added. Once that's done and the license is up there, it's time to restart the application. I've uploaded the license file. Now it's time to restart the application. I can use this button right here to restart the application. Once the application is started and the RTI cartridge is activated, RTI begins performance monitoring. Now I need to connect with the RTI console to take a look at that data and also control how RTI operates. I'll choose the cloud connection link here to connect to OpenShift in the cloud, and I'll provide the basic information. I'll use my domain name for the cloud server address, and for the login I use the value from the SSH command. I won't be using a password here because I'm going to be using a key. I'll use the private key that I set up earlier from the OpenShift console. I'll test the connection to make sure I have my login credentials correct. Okay, the connection succeeded. Now I'll move on to see what hosts I can connect to. In this case, I have a single gear up there that I can select. If you had multiple gears, you would actually be able to select all those here. And now we've connected, and RTI will gather some information from the installed RTI cartridge and populate the collector view here. Now that I've connected the console to the RTI cartridge, I can begin doing performance analysis. One of the first things I'll probably do is start with a profile. I'm currently pushing a load through the application. I want to see how my application is performing under load. So I'll ask the RTI console to download the current profile from the JBoss server. I can take a look at the profile here. The kitchen sink application is pretty simple and doesn't have a whole lot of requests coming into it. It has some REST services, the title page here, the Java Server Spaces page. But I could take a look at these, and I could drill down into them and examine where I'm spending my time here in those individual requests as I move through. If I come across a request that looks interesting to me because the performance is slow or for some reason, I can initiate one of our deep dive traces to trace just that transaction, or I can trace all the transactions, and I can set some parameters of how long I want to trace. I might trace for 5 minutes in this case. The deep dive trace allows me to trace individual requests as they move through my system and allow me to drill down and find out where they're spending their time. Okay, the trace is now started, and normally I would just wait for my trace to finish after about 5 minutes. I can pick up the data for the last 5 minutes, for example, from the same collector and load that into my RTI console. Alright, the RTI deep dive trace information has been downloaded into the console, and we can take a look at what we have here. In the top we have a table summarizing the requests as they've come into the system. Again, we were just tracing index.jsf. We have a chart here on the bottom which shows the overall response times for those requests. This is an overview timeline that shows when the requests are arriving and how long they take, sort of related to each other. There are other summary tables here which show information about the various events that have been tracked. We're also keeping track of the garbage collection and Java heap size information and a bunch of other metrics that you can load. We can examine some of these requests in more detail by expanding the nodes here. This one is fairly simple, and you can see we run through the server faces to the servlet and then hibernate queries. If we take a look at this request here is a little more complex, and you can see there's again the JSF, the servlet, then an EJB call and hibernate calls, and here's the SQL used to implement those calls and more information. Again, this is a simple application. Your application will generally have more details. That was a quick look at using RTI in the OpenShift environment with the RTI cartridge. For more information and more videos, visit our website at www.rtiperformance.com. Check out the documentation, including quick starts for OpenShift, and address questions to RTI support.